Late one night, a young boy confesses to his father about a mysterious figure lurking outside their window. As shadows deepen and fear grips the family, they must confront an unsettling reality. What did the boy truly witness? And how will this midnight encounter change everything? The truth awaits. Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. It was just past midnight, and the house was silent. The kind of quiet where even the slightest creak seems loud enough to wake everyone. I had finally drifted off after a long, exhausting day when suddenly the door to my room creaked open. At first, I thought maybe it was just the wind or my mind playing tricks. But then I saw a figure quietly stepping inside. My son. Confused and still half asleep, I watched him in the dim light as he stood there, hesitating, like he had something important to say, but couldn't find the words. My mind raced through questions. Was he okay? Did something happen? Why would he come to me so late at night? The expression on his face wasn't one I'd seen before. There was a mix of nervousness and determination that instantly made my heart beat faster. I sat up, trying to shake off the sleep fog clouding my thoughts. "What's going on?" I asked gently, not wanting to startle him. He took a deep breath, and I could tell whatever he was about to say wasn't going to be easy. In that moment, I knew this conversation would be one I would never forget. What could have brought him here at such an unusual hour? And what truth was waiting to be uncovered? He stood there for a moment, shifting his weight nervously from one foot to the other. I could tell he was trying to gather the courage to speak, but the words seemed stuck in his throat. The silence between us grew heavier, and the curiosity mixed with concern gnawed at me. What was going through his mind? My son wasn't one to wake me up unless it was absolutely necessary. Usually, if something was on his mind, he'd keep it to himself until he figured out how to deal with it. That's just the way he was. Independent, strong-willed, but tonight was different. There was a weight hanging in the air, something unspoken but pressing. I need to tell you something," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. His eyes flickered between mine and the floor, as if he were measuring the impact of his words before they even came out. I couldn't tell if it was fear or relief that edged his voice. Maybe it was both. I leaned forward, my heart racing faster now. "It's okay," I reassured him softly. "Whatever it is, you can tell me." But the look in his eyes told me that what he was about to share wasn't something simple or easy. The shadows of the room seemed to deepen, wrapping around us like the tension in that moment. Whatever truth was waiting to be spoken, I knew it was going to change everything. He took a shaky breath, the kind you take when you're stepping into something unknown, and I could tell that whatever he was holding on to was weighing him down. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he began, his voice cracking slightly. "It just happened so fast." His words were fragmented, but each one carried the weight of a secret too big to carry alone. I tried to stay calm, but inside my mind raced, scrambling to connect dots that hadn't even formed yet. What could possibly have him this worked up? I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen him this unsettled. The urge to protect him was immediate, but so was the realization that this was something he had to say on his own terms. "It's not what you think," he added quickly, as if trying to cut off any assumptions forming in my head. "I didn't mean for you to find out this way." The statement puzzled me even more. What was he talking about? Find out what? My gut twisted at the unknown, but I forced myself to keep my voice steady. "I'm listening," I assured him, hoping it would make it easier for him to keep going. The dim light of the room flickered across his face, highlighting the mixture of guilt and determination written there. He looked older than his years in that moment, like someone carrying burdens too heavy for his young shoulders. And still, the truth lingered just beyond reach, waiting to reveal itself. The silence stretched between us, thick and unyielding. My son shifted uneasily, his eyes darting around the room as if looking for an escape. But there was no way out now, not from whatever truth he was carrying. I could see the storm brewing inside him, emotions colliding and spilling over as he struggled to find the right words. "I should have told you earlier," he muttered, almost to himself. "But I didn't know how, and I was scared." The vulnerability in his voice tugged at something deep inside me. Whatever this was, it wasn't simple. It wasn't something he could brush off and forget about. It had been eating at him, building up until there was no choice but to let it out. The tension thickened, filling every corner of the room. The shadows seemed darker, the air heavier. I leaned forward, my pulse quickening. "It's okay," I said softly, even though I wasn't sure it was. "Just tell me." For a long moment, he didn't speak. His hands clenched and unclenched at his sides, restless and uncertain. "It's about something I saw," he finally said, his voice low but firm. "Something I wish I hadn't." Those words hit me harder than I expected. My mind raced, questions swirling like a storm. What did he see? Why couldn't he forget it? But I knew better than to push too hard. He needed to tell this in his own way, even as the weight of his revelation pressed closer, teetering on the edge of being revealed. My heart raced faster with each passing second. His words lingered in the air. Something I wish I hadn't seen. The weight of that sentence hung between us, heavy and unresolved. I wanted to ask a dozen questions at once, but something told me to hold back. Whatever he was about to share was fragile, balanced precariously between silence and revelation. He drew a shaky breath, his gaze dropping to the floor. "I didn't think it was real at first," he admitted quietly. "I thought maybe I was imagining it, but I wasn't." His voice faltered, and I could see how much effort it took for him to keep going. He was fighting not just the memory, but the fear of what it would mean to bring it into the open. The room seemed smaller now, closing in as the tension built. Every creak of the house, every flicker of shadow added to the weight pressing down on us. "I didn't know if I should tell you," he continued. "I thought maybe I could just forget it, pretend it didn't matter. But it does matter." His voice cracked, raw with emotion. I leaned in closer, my pulse thudding in my ears. "You can trust me," I said gently. "I'm here." But even as I said it, I braced myself for what was coming. Whatever truth was waiting to be spoken felt impossibly close and dangerously powerful. He finally met my eyes, the weight of his secret clear in his expression. "I saw someone outside," he confessed, his voice steady despite the fear woven into it. "Near the back window last night. I thought it was nothing, just shadows. But then I saw them again." The words hit me like a jolt, my instincts immediately on high alert. "Why didn't you wake me up right then?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice calm. "I wasn't sure if I imagined it," he admitted, guilt creeping into his tone. "But then I saw footprints by the window today. Fresh ones." The realization hit us both at once. This wasn't something we could ignore anymore. I moved toward the window, my pulse racing as I pulled back the curtain. The yard stretched out before us, bathed in dim light. Nothing seemed out of place at first, but then I noticed something near the edge of the fence. A flash of movement, quick and deliberate. My stomach tightened. Before I could speak, my son whispered, "It's them!" They're back. The night suddenly felt charged, every sound amplified, every shadow hiding a potential threat. We weren't imagining things anymore. Reality had just become far more unsettling. I drew a deep breath, steadying myself. "Stay here," I whispered to my son, but his hand gripped my arm firmly. "We should call someone," he urged, concern thick in his voice. He was right. This was beyond anything we could handle alone. Picking up the phone, I dialed the authorities, explaining calmly what we had seen. They assured us someone would be sent over immediately to check the area. The tension lingered, but knowing help was on the way offered some relief. I kept my son close, sensing his unease, but also seeing a newfound determination in his eyes. Despite the fear, he had stepped forward to protect us both by speaking up. When the officers arrived, they searched thoroughly, uncovering a trail of footprints leading away from the house, but no immediate threat. "We'll keep an eye on the area," one officer promised, "but it's good your son trusted his instincts and told you." As they left, I turned to my son, pride swelling in my chest. "You did the right thing," I told him. He nodded quietly, the weight of the night lifting just a little. Sometimes, courage is found in speaking up when it's hardest. And tonight, we learned that facing fear together makes us stronger than any shadow lurking outside.